So he takes one look at me and he's like, got his flashlight, backs up a few feet. So the A-Team van was the 2009 run, our third run. So after the first year we did it, which was supposed to be a lark anyway, Top Gear called us up, and it was Top Gear magazine. They wanted to enter a car, so we're like, okay, well, let's do it again, right? So we put a bunch of guys together, Top Gear did the run, and that went off great, but Top Gear magazine is in like 44 countries in a bunch of different languages. And I didn't really have any information on the internet because I didn't want people finding out, but my name was in there as well as a picture of me, and people were finding me. And all this interest, and they're like, you want to do it again? Do it again? I'm like, okay. But if I'm going to do it again, I want to make it interesting for me, because the first year was the Subaru. The second year we built a replica of a Army staff car with no license plate, and that worked great. So how do we top that, right? So at that time I owned a film car company in New York, so it had to do something with TV or film. So we came up with the A-Team van. And we're all children of the 80s, so it was absolutely perfect. But of course, you had to do it in costume. So there was going to be a drawing of who would be Mr. T. And it turned out pretty accurate. We bought it from this guy in Pennsylvania, put a crate engine in it, and spent a lot of money on it, but it was horrible looking and rusty. Brought it back to New York, got it cleaned up, found the right wheels for it, which is the all important thing, and the spoilers, and we painted the red stripe on it, and we took off. And that's the vehicle we set the record in, the current record in. We put two 22-gallon tanks in the back, but we did get pulled over once, and it was in Nebraska in the middle of the night. And I felt sorry for the officer, because he's coming up behind a flat black van with New York tags that has no windows on it, and he's alone in the middle of nowhere. So we see him come up the side. He's got one hand on his flashlight, other hand on his gun. He walks up the side of it, and we had pullovers ready. So we had everything in a bag. So licenses, registrations, we can make it as quickly as possible because there's nothing more of a time suck than getting pulled over. And if you're agreeable, it's over within a couple of minutes. So roll the windows down, dome lights on. He comes up the side, looks in the passenger seat, and I'm sitting there. Now, I had lost the bet, so I was dressed as Mr. T. And the night before, we shaved my head into a mohawk, and I had the beard and the chains, and I wore it the whole way across. And one of my teammates was Hannibal, and he's driving, and Face Man's in the back seat asleep. So he takes one look at me, and he's like, got his flashlight, backs up a few feet, looks down the side of the van, sees the stripe and the wheels, looks back at me, takes the bag, and walks away. And we're like, now this can go either way, right? Like, what's gonna happen? And comes back 5 minutes later, ran the plates, obviously, in our license, everything's clean. Comes back up, hands us the stuff back, looks in the back, makes sure nothing's bad, looks at us, and just says, I can't give a ticket to the A-Team. And that was it. And he's like, next 24 miles, take it easy, have a good evening. And that was it. He walked away, got back in his car. And the great thing is, he went back to the guys, right? Because it was 1 a.m. He's like, you're not gonna believe what I saw. I pulled over the A-Team, there was a white hunky T in there. It was awesome. But that was definitely one of the best stops we had.